How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk, and I'm still in Delray Beach, Florida at Transformations, and today my guest is going to be Gary and Aida Ouillette. You guys are the founder of Respawn, which is an assistance program for first responders, correct?
That's correct, Ange.
Right, so you can see right now we're kind of going in line with what Transformations is about. Now what I want to do is connect the assistance program to the treatment center, and that's why I brought my two friends here. Gary Ouillette's actually been on my show before. We've discussed vulnerabilities of first responders and what best ways to treat them, and I've actually talked to some of your peers, including Katerina Spinaris, which was, I actually think you're obviously familiar with her, right? And the work that she's done. So kind of continuing in that line of fashion, I found the same type of treatment here at Transformation. So first off, I want to kind of talk about you guys. Now you guys are both in the field, correct?
We're retired, but we're in the field of employee assistance programming, yeah.
Right, so you guys have corrections background, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
that right there is why I have that immediate relationship with you, because you understand how it is to be a first responder. And when I say corrections, I include law enforcement, so that includes us in the first responder field. So that, to me, was our immediate connection. And the fact that obviously you've been there, done that, and that brings you the emotion side. And you told me something in there about emotions over intellect. What does that mean?
Well, generally, when you have, they have the I over E theory. And basically what that means is intellect over emotion. And what we do in our business is we do the E over I theory. Coming from corrections, coming from the survival technique of corrections, it's the emotion over the intellect instead of the intellect over the emotion. We care a lot about this program. We care a lot about our brother and sister COs and COs around the country and the staff COs. We really try to do everything we possibly can to accommodate whatever their needs are.
And right now, obviously, they do need our help on a national level. You could see that corrections is having understaffed issues, employee morale. I mean, we were talking about the riot in North Carolina. You know, 4 officers killed in a riot, right? And now we got to worry about how the officers that survived, they have to now go back to work and how they deal with these stressors that they cannot avoid. You know, and we've discussed this on multiple levels, and that's kind of what's bringing us here. Me and you know each other for years. So this is the first time we got a chance to meet each other, and I'm going to tell you something. The passion you had on the phone is the passion that I see here. And that's why I think that we have, it literally is a chance to network and do something great. Because we even talked about peer-to-peer support and making sure that we're out there, and if the people don't want to come to us, then we should be going to them. You know, and I kind of want to get that. So now my concern is this is with agencies, right? So there is a liability, and again, this is to my management staff here. My management staff, you know, a lot of them only worry about liability, you know, and in the long run, I would like to say we should be worried about frontline staff, worrying, making sure we're taking care of them and whatnot, but hypothetically, I know some management unfortunately thinks about the bottom line. So it still relates to the need for what we got to get done, because if you have a facility that has tension after a riot, and there's that general animosity possibly between staff and the inmate population, what are we doing before we pop those gates open? I mean, we did the investigation, we found out who's responsible, but what are we literally doing to ease the tension at those facilities? Because if I was a family of inmates and assaults were happening, if I was a family of officers and assaults were happening, I'm going to ask you, did you debrief? Did you find out what you could do to alleviate the tension? So having Respond here, you know, Gary Ouillette and Aida here, we're trying to see if we could build a connection between the agencies that need these type of response teams and the transition to a place like Transformations, correct? Sure. So let's start to go from the beginning. Somebody calls you in distress. So Aida, if I may, because I know you take a lot of the phone calls, correct? So I call you, I'm on my last rung, you know, pretty much I got a gun in my hand, I'm ready to do some serious stuff, but I'm still calling you for help. Where do we go from there? What's the next step?
I turn around and I tell you that I have 30 years of corrections behind the walls. I'm here for you. I'm your sister officer, and I'm going to help you in any way I can. Please let me help you. I have all the tools. I just need you to say yes, and I need you to trust me. I know it's hard to trust, especially in the type of condition you find yourself now. Please let me help you.
And I see that, I like the way you express the immediate relationship, that I know where you're coming from by saying I'm your sister, by saying I know where you've been at 30 years experience. And I think that's a great way to knock down that wall that most people will put up, because you're showing that immediate relationship that I have with you. You're my brother. I know you're hurting. I feel your pain with you. Let me help you. And it's important that they want that help, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so once they say, okay, well, I'm in need of help. How can you help me? What would be the next step, Gary?
Well, they would turn around and she would find out what help is necessary, what they need. And by doing that, it's called basically an assessment. We do an assessment, a needs assessment, and we'll determine what avenues we have to go into in order to get the proper help, which is very difficult because corrections, as you know, have some of the highest negative statistics in all occupations.
Of course.
From stress-related major medical illnesses to suicide to divorce to alcohol, substance abuse, PTSD. So there's a number of things. But when somebody finally calls, we know that they're at their last rung because, as you know, in corrections, we have the survival technique.
Right.
And pain will dictate when we ask for help because we stuff a lot of things inside.
Right, so, and I know that the process for you guys, and we were talking about this before, is that we seem to be getting people on a reactionary level, which means that they're broken already, and at this point, we have to adjust and try to see what pieces are left. The connection with the agency could be the breaking point where nothing's broke yet, we still have a way to fix it. Can we fix it? So basically, if we were to look at the agency, are we looking also to prevent?
Education is probably the single most important part of getting the word across. If you educate properly, we talk about PTSD. The big word is post in PTSD. We experience trauma all the time inside the facilities, and the general public, John Q. citizen, has no clue whatsoever what we're doing. But we have that on a regular basis. Now, after a trauma, if you do a debriefing, if you have a CISM team, you need to get them in place to do a debriefing. A debriefing can take minutes, but in the long run, it could take away the stress that person is going to develop over time that can magnify and turn into PTSD. You can sort of nip it in a bud in a proactive way, and it can be an asset opposed to becoming a liability down the road.
Right, and when you mention CISM, guys, that's CISM, guys. It's Critical Incident Stress Management. It's a team that usually employed right after a major incident. And it could be like an incident like a riot, the death of an officer, even a death of an inmate an officer could take. And that's, the public doesn't realize that. Watching an inmate commit suicide in front of you is very stressful, especially twofold. If not only was I the officer responsible, but now I see the death happen in front of me, but am I still going to have a job? So, you know, there's so many compacted stress factors that I believe management could be very proactive in knowing that these are the concerns automatically, that if this happens, we get a CISM team out there to go look at people individually, make sure they're okay. And what I mean by that is the CISM team comes to the compound. They don't just sit and wait for people to come to them. They walk around to each area and introduce themselves, let them get familiar with the people there, and if there's people that want to kind of chat with them, they build on the chat, and there's greater concerns. That's where it can be referred to a treatment center who's better able to handle those concerns. But a CISM team, to me, is needed. Some will be an automatic response, but some could even be an individual response. An officer that has something job-related and then maybe say, well, you know what? I know nobody else is asking for it, but right now, there's something that happened in my unit the other day. Is there anybody I can talk to? Sure, not a problem. We have a team available. I'll get you in touch with the coordinator. So, you know, it really is a proactive measure that's meant to alleviate the stresses of the job in a manner that's preventive before it gets to that point where now we're totally reactionary. Now, Aida, if I may, again, just kind of going back and forth. So you get the phone call, right? Now, how do we get that person here?
I turn around and I explain to them that if they explain to me what situations you're feeling and what you're going through, and then we turn around and we discuss it. If it's alcohol, substance abuse, PTSD, we have all the criteria that is covered by Transformations. Transformations specializes in the first responder program. We have a program in place for our brother and sister officers should the situation arise. It's covered by insurance, and everything is handled directly with transformations as far as getting the assessment done and getting the person the help that they need as expeditiously as possible.
And what I love about this, actually, and we had a chance to talk before the show, is that we don't just worry about the first responder. And by the way, guys, I know I'm saying first responder, but I want people to know that they don't just treat first responders here. But because of my show, and my show is dedicated to first responders, you may find that I highlight that perspective a lot. That's not the case. It's just that's my focus. So by all means, if there is someone else that you know that, and you happen to be watching this, that suffers from a drug abuse problem or may need the help of treatments, be aware that they do treat other people outside of first responders. I'm the one that's actually always referring to first responders, and that's just where my show is geared toward. That's the Tier Talk aspect of it all. But going back to what we were just discussing, so once you find out what the criteria is, where their problems are, where their concerns are, then you go ahead and make sure Transformations is aware that you have somebody that may seek their assistance. But then when me and you spoke, outside of here before the interview, you also acknowledged the family.
Absolutely.
Of the affected first responder.
Absolutely. While the infected person is seeking treatment, I deal with the affected person that has gone through whatever the situation has brought everybody to this type of a situation. With that being said, we have alcohol and AA, NA, depending upon what the situations are. If it's a PTSD, there's clinicians that are involved that are brought into the situation to turn around and put everybody on a level playing field,
right,
so that we can turn around and handle it 100% across the board and bring the infected person to their...
What's needed.
Yeah.
Now, it's amazing because this is work that goes behind the scenes that nobody knows, but it goes to show you that there's people out there that cares. And again, not just for the first responder, but for the loved ones, because again,
Yeah.
Obviously you both are in the field, obviously, so you kind of have a very unique kind of perspective on this. But, I'm married, I have a wife, she doesn't know what goes on behind the wall, so just to be able to inform them, like, hey, listen, what your husband's going through, in my case, me being married wife, this is what it is, this explains, so now she's not left out in the wind wondering what the heck is going on. So it's great because now that also helps the individual responder build their life, because you're also constructing something for them on the outside of things, so when they get back, it helps them. It helps them in that transition. Okay, so again, and I'll go back with you, Gary. So now this is personal for you too. Now, I've had Gary on my show before, okay? So when me and Gary discuss, we always discuss about other people, right? And I never really asked you personally. So this is a moment that, I appreciate, by the way, what I'm going to ask you. I know it's vulnerable what I'm going to ask you, but again, I greatly appreciate what you're going to say here. But I want to know your story. So basically, I know you were a first responder, and your connection also with your brother and sisters, right? And that's one of the reasons why you got involved. But there's another reason.
Sure.
And do you mind telling us a little bit about that other reason?
Not at all. I started off January 2nd, 1977, as a state corrections officer in Massachusetts. In August 23rd of 1988, I went into a treatment rehab for alcohol. Now, back then, it was the right thing to do was to go out with the guys, go in the parking lot and pound them down and, doing it. That was part of it, Unfortunately, it got to the point where it started affecting things in my life. But I would put them aside and I would minimize everything. I'd deny half of it, minimize the other half. And I'd keep everything built up inside even though I knew things were going awry. And I did that because that's that survival technique that we inherit working in this job, I think played a very important role in it. So it was, someone was at the end of the phone when I made a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Someone at work had said, you might have a problem, and I denied it. I said, this is BS. I'm all right. I'm good. But when it finally came, I took that number that was given to me, as we're going to give a number out today. And I hope people will know, number one, Contrary, it's confidential. We do not put your stuff out there. It's nobody's business but yours. Everybody needs somebody sometimes. And if they don't turn around and use what's available, it's just going to get worse. It's like blowing air into a balloon. The stress gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's going to create more chaotic situations in your life. And I reached out before I did something stupid or stupider than what I was already doing.
So what are some of the resistance that you usually get from people that are first responders like corrections police, EMTs, firefighters, and military?
Well, what I found is individuals that reach for help, in corrections specifically, pain is the greatest gift God gave to man, because from pain comes gain. And from gain, you're able to change. And I was at the point in my life where there was so much pain, I had no alternative but to get help.
So you like most people that suffer through addiction, you actually, again, at the bottom.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's when you said, okay, I need to do something.
Regardless of what my peers and my fellow COs and brothers and sisters were going to think about me, I had to put myself first. And that was probably hard because it was a painful thing to do. Because I was in fear of the unknown. There wasn't anybody for me to call that I knew about in corrections. There wasn't any peer support. There was nothing except, what am I going to do? My life is it's in front of me and it's not going anywhere.
So you know about the resistance because you went through, because you waited to the bitter end.
Absolutely.
So what were the things that stopped you from going sooner?
Denial. I didn't feel bad enough. I didn't feel enough pain. I mean, the signs were there, going in, calling in sick with a hangover, not remembering parts of the evening, feeling the next day thinking about what I did the night before and having a little guilt about things that I had said or done, or, things of that nature that all weighs on you. But it wasn't until these things accumulated to the point where I really had to do something, because I really didn't feel good about myself.
And you know what's funny is that you mentioned the calling out sick. I'm going to forward this over to Aida here. Is there ever times when you deal with family that they don't realize that they're enabling the addiction?
They don't realize that they're enabling the addiction when you love somebody. You know what I mean? You trust them, you believe everything that they're telling you, and if they say that everything's okay, you believe that everything's okay. It's easier to say, I believe that everything's okay, than, oh my God, is there a problem here? Do I need to really look at this? Is our home, everything falling apart? It's a lot easier to turn around and say, I believe you, everything's good.
Is there? Let me ask you a question. Whoever wants to answer, Gary or Aida, is you think that there may be a sense of guilt amongst the family members? Do they ever feel responsible if their loved one has an addiction?
I don't think that they feel guilty that their spouse has an addiction as much as alcohol. When I was a child growing up, in my culture was normal. Everybody drank for the holidays at the table. They put up a glass of wine and toasted at every event. If it was a birthday, if it was, no matter what the holiday was, so it wasn't as though it was an addiction. It didn't come out to be an addiction until now. It was, in big problems.
So it's affecting your lifestyle.
Correct.
So that's when you realize that it is an addiction.
That's correct.
So when you start seeing things in your lifestyle change, like calling out work when you know you should be work, especially when you have no sick days. Now you know I got a problem because now I can't go to work, I have no days left, now I'm losing money, getting suspended. So when it starts to really affect your lifestyle, is that when you start to realize that maybe I need to do something about this?
Oh, absolutely. It just gets to the point where you feel bankrupt inside.
Okay, so now I want to talk about the connection that you guys have a little bit with Transformations. Now, I came here on behalf of Transformations because I believe in what they're trying to do. But again, this is only the kind of like this is the end area of it all, right? So I thought it was great to kind of get a perspective of what we're doing once we know they need help, giving them the treatment, checking out the clinical area, then going and check out the residency. A lot to give you, a lot to provide. You guys were nice enough to drive 5 hours up here, so we could also take part in the beginning process of it all, of getting somebody here. And I think when we were having that discussion, there was, when our communication, we were trying to show that the benefits of an agency being connected at least to the initial respond, right? I'm gonna say respond because that's the name of your would you say organization or
Yeah,
company? Company, that's the name of your company. So obviously, I'm looking for a way for agencies to alleviate some of the stress of the first responders, you know, and be preventive, not just reactive, and try to kind of, you know, get ahead of it all, as opposed to waiting for the people to finally be broke. Maybe we can get them when, you know, they're starting to break or before the trauma sets in, the emotion over intellect aspect of it all, right? Because right now, it seems to be that, you know, you're right, it's the intellect aspect of it all. But I mean, if people want to think, the liability is we have to protect our first responders. In my case, I'm talking about corrections here because they're the ones that ultimately protect the facility. If we're not protecting them, we ain't doing right by nobody. So what would benefit agencies, right, to kind of have like a connection with you guys, and then how important that connection is to transformations? So how do we go about facilitating that connection, and what is the benefits of it all? So I guess Gary, want to go?
Well, we provide training, early warning signs of the impaired employee, how to properly confront that person, and how to get the word to them on what services may be available through whatever resource directory they have. We do a lot of different types of training, workshops, and various topics of whatever the need may be. What we found is the more education, and I don't want to sound redundant, the more education, the more the word gets out there, and the more you remember. You can't do one training today and not do it again and say, well, we've done it. Well, if you've done it, you need to continually do it. If you believe that person's worthwhile, if you believe the statistics are high in a certain area, whether it be absenteeism, whether it be, workers' comp, whether it be, whatever the issues may be, you need to educate your staff. You got to make them aware, because, like I said, one training will not suffice.
And I'll be honest with you, I like the fact that you're mentioning the fact that people also have to know it exists. Yes, you have the training, but people have to know that these are the outlets you can go to.
Sure.
And that's why I tell people when they have a peer-to-peer support, you don't just stay there passively. You get out there, because a lot of people, even though you're in the facility, they may not know what you're about. They may not know that you're even there. And that's the failure of the agency, unfortunately. So I know you guys partner up a lot with Transformations, but you are obviously connected with other organizations. But what's so important to you about Transformations? Why is it that you guys recommended me to come here?
These guys are good. They're real good. They, when we first toured the place, now we were able to make an informed decision on who we feel is best for our brother and sister officers, who I would send my child or my brother, or because corrections is a family.
Yes.
And you need to feel that way in order to be able to know once that person is in treatment, you need that emotional feeling that they're going to be in good hands. And we got that feeling. We fine-tuned the program enough where we feel that when someone calls us, they will contact Aida, they'll run an insurance, and the record is 45 minutes from the time that she received the phone call to the time that flight arrangements were made, and that person's family can rest assured that they're in the best treatment possible. And once they're in treatment, Aida contacts the family member and provides support to them while the person is in treatment. So we try to work that extension of the family. It's a family of a family.
And Aida was mentioning that you actually, anybody that you refer, I believe you come down at least once to visit them.
Absolutely. Come down to visit them once, make sure that everything that has been done for them is the top of the line. This to me is number one treatment in the country, barring none. It's the top of the line, it's the best. If it was my child, my brother, my sister, I want them to be here and to get the love and the tenderness and the help that they need right here that's provided for them.
Right, and as I said, it's a great complement of service that you guys are both providing, and I think that's the reason why this has been a very good centerpiece for Tier Talk, and a great partnership that Tier Talk has started to form with with Respond, as well as Transformations. Again, this is going to go directly to my audience, but I'll start with you, Aida. Anything you'd like to tell my audience?
Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. And please, if you need anything, don't hesitate to give me a call 24/7. My phone number is 508-844-1800. I'm here for you.
Gary, anything you'd like to say?
Coming from corrections, we know how difficult it is, and we also know that there is a way out. And it is confidential. It doesn't fall into the rumor mill behind the walls, and it doesn't go anywhere except behind the phone from one person to another. As Aida said, we're here for you. And I'm going to give you my phone number too, 508-274-5184. Stay safe, God bless, and happy holidays.
And if I may say, guys, these are personal phone numbers, so it shows you even more so the dedication of what you guys do. These are personal cell phone numbers. And again, just to kind of come to a closing, opiate crisis, everything that's going on, it doesn't just affect the inmate population, it affects us. I mean, we get hurt on the job, we get given painkillers. Alcohol has become a great way of escape for us, which, you know, unfortunately, obviously is a main concern for us, but that has been a resource for us. And I think like organizations like this, like Transformations and Respond, we're making an effort to remind people we're here. We can help you. And in the end, and this is what I'm going to say in closing, it's organizations like Respond and Transformations that have literally put it out there. We have to start protecting the protector. As always, guys, the show is Tier Talk. Love you guys. Cage is closed. Thank you, everyone.
24/7.